Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our fourth Gamification Roundtable session. This is an event organized by Games for Business with the aim to bring together gamification experts and, of course, also providers to create a platform where leaders can share their views and their experience in a professional discussion, hopefully which will be useful to all our listeners and viewers. Games for Business, let me introduce ourselves. We develop online simulation games and gamification-based solutions for HR and marketing purposes, including recruitment games and online learning platforms, also for multinational corporations or higher education institutions. We invite representatives from both the enterprise and provider sides to our recurring Google Hangouts forum to discuss various applications of gamification in the corporate and in the organizational area. I recommend to all of our viewers to ask questions and post comments with the hashtag Gamification Roundtable, which you can follow the stream of these hashtag posts on our website, gamificationroundtable.com. If you're on YouTube, then you probably won't see this, but if you go to our stream on gamificationroundtable.com, then you will be able to see the stream and of course also the hashtag posts. But of course you can follow the discussion on YouTube as well. After we finish, the conversation will be available as a YouTube video on our YouTube channel, Games for Business YouTube channel, so feel free to check it out later. Our conversation today will revolve around the topic of employee motivation with the help of gamification. And let me introduce our invited speakers in alphabetical order. I will, of course, let them all introduce themselves personally to you as well. We have Robert Bence here. He is the Director of Human Resource Consulting and International Mobility at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Hungary. He has more than 20 years of experience in HR, including senior level positions in several fields of business at the company. We have Magdalena Chabinska, who is a senior HR director at DHL Parcel in Poland. Her tasks include the formation and implementation of a comprehensive personnel policy in Poland, and she is also ICC coach and a graduate of MBA, currently working on her doctoral thesis in the area of leadership. Pete Jenkins has also joined us from the UK. He is the founder and managing director of gamification consultancy company eAdvantage Solutions. He's entrepreneur in residence at Brighton Business School as well, and at the University of Brighton, of course. And he's the chair of GameFed, which is an international gamification confederation. And he's also researching gamification in human resources at CROME, which is the Center for Research on Management and Employment. And last but not least, we have also Martin Vardasco. He's the director of Center for Simulation Games and Gamification and director of MBA program for IT at Kosmicki University, also in Poland. Since 2003, he's been trainer and developer of simulation games for business and consulting. And he's also board member at Association for Business Simulation and Experiential Learning and International Simulations and Gaming Association. So quite a lot of experience around the table, as you can see. And one thing that binds most of our invited guests together is that we will be able to meet three of them at the Gamification in HR Summit in April, from April 27th to 29th in Vienna. There will be the second such event hosted by Fleming Europe, which is, as I mentioned, was the title Gamification in HR. And Games for Business will also be present with a stand, so you will be able to meet us. If you want to find out more details, please check out www.gamificationinhrsummit.com. Let me also introduce myself. My name is Peter Filak, and I am the Business Development Director at Games for Business. I will be the moderator of this discussion. And let me immediately pass the word over to our invited guests and ask them to introduce themselves. This time I'm not going to go in alphabetical order. I'm going to ask Magdalena to please introduce herself first.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the roundtable. I am a senior HR manager in DHL Parcel Poland. I'm working with DHL since 2008. And last year, together with Marcin, we started a big gamification initiative in our organization, and I'm very pleased that I will have a chance to share my experience in that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marcin, do you want to go next?
Yes. Well, I do everything with games. I started many years ago with games and developing the management development programs with using games, and now we also actively designing, building, and introducing games and gamification systems both in the academic environment and in the organizational environment. So my background is I actually wrote my PhD about using games and gamification in management training. So this is my primary specialization.
Thank you very much. How about you, Pete?
I have a background in IT and software systems, and I got into gamification because I got fed up with watching people not use the systems I implemented for them. I really thought there'd got to be a better way, and obviously it's motivating staff to make those changes and to get involved that got me into gamification a good couple of years ago now.
Thanks for sharing. Robert, can you also introduce yourself, please?
Yes, a couple of words. I think three important things. That on one hand, we have a very long-lasting relationship with Games for Business, because we have our own gamification suite, PwC, that works very well for about 5 years now in Hungary. At the same time, we are selling gamification services in collaboration with Games for Business clients. And number three is that I love to play games. So I think this is important for the discussion at the moment.
Thank you very much, all of you. And we came today to talk a little bit about employee motivation, which is a crucial and hot topic in the HRC nowadays, as most of you might have come across. Companies are struggling to boost engagement levels and maintain loyalty and commitment among their colleagues and employees. And incredible amounts of resources are lost due to the lack of motivation, especially with the millennial and post-millennial generations. So as they are becoming more and more represented and in large numbers in the labor market, this issue is really important to discuss and to address. So this is where I turn to our experts today, and I asked them, why do you think that employee motivation is really crucial? Why is it such a hot topic? And is it only about Generation Y, about the millennials, or is it a wider area that we need to address? Who wants to go first?
I'll start if you like.
Thank you.
For me, I think it's becoming a bigger and bigger topic, mainly because everyone under the age of, say, 30, 35 is coming into work from the position of having played games. It's their major leisure activity, and they're used to instant feedback to motivate them to do things. And then they hit the world of work, and if they're lucky, they might get an appraisal every 6 months or so. So they're not as motivated by work or even by education as they are by the things they can do in their spare time, in their leisure time.
So feedback is one of the key things that you need, right?
I think for me, feedback is one of the key things with motivating employees that they're missing without gamification.
Thank you. How about PricewaterhouseCoopers, Robert? How is life at your company with the new generation?
Yeah, what I see, if we talk about motivation, if we talk about commitment, it's not a Generation Y issue. In the last couple of years, we've worked a lot with big companies, with HR initiatives and projects focusing on Generation Y, Generation X, then Generation Z, whatever. And getting into details, discovering the motivating factors for those guys. There are some specials, but if we go back to the roots, I think the real motivation is almost the same for everybody. Even, let's say, more mature generations need motivation, and it's a crucial thing for them as well. Probably some of, let's say, tools or some of the techniques that you use would be different. And if we connect it with gamification, I think that's the same. It's ageless. I see many people enjoying gamification as a kind of a motivation tool, even at the age of 50s and 60s. And also I see at the age of 20s. So I think motivation is crucial for all companies. Motivation is crucial for all generations, because the noise is big in every company, because lots of things are happening. So committing people, making them motivated is a crucial fact for everybody. So I would say it's not only a Generation Y issue.
Thank you. Let's look at the situation in Poland. Magdalena, how is life at DHL in this regard?
We're quite happy because we don't struggle with motivation of our people. But of course, I agree with Robert that the motivation is no matter, is not connected with the age. Actually, every employee should be motivated, if like to deliver good, proper business results. Of course, that's the most important question for any HR, how to keep motivation of people on the same level, especially if you have people working in the same area for 20 or 30 years, and they have the feeling that they know everything and they saw already everything what can happen in the industry. So generally, the motivation is actually the basic of our HR work. But to be honest, motivation is something more than only gamification or salary. Motivation is something what sits very much in company culture. And I know some organizational culture which kill motivation completely.
Thank you. Martin, would you like to add to that?
Well, yes, just one more thing, that motivation is actually the only key to high-performing organizations. So if you want to reach a very high-performing organization and have very good results without employee engagement and motivation, this is close to impossible. So if we not just motivate, but motivate them in a long time, as Maya said, it is not just motivate for the moment. It's not a sprint. This is a marathon in most of the cases. And of course, the organizational context is important, like organizational culture. But the question today is how to motivate people in a long period of time, so the organization can reach a high performance level.
Pete has mentioned feedback, which is game element actually. He brought an example from games. Let's discuss a few more such elements and mechanisms that games can bring for employee motivation. What useful such game elements and game mechanisms can you think of, have you come across, or are you maybe using to boost employee motivation? Martin, maybe you want to share your experience also, or your expertise?
Yes, but one of the most important already Pete mentioned, and this is instant feedback. So this is like if you shoot the monster in the face in a game, it dies. It means it not dies next year and the 360 degrees evaluation of your performance at the job place. It should die immediately. It means if you should know what actually are you doing on the right, are you on the right path, and are you doing the right thing actually after every action. So this is the feedback is the key. But also there is a lot of different elements around, like a good narration, a storytelling, which lets people immerse a little bit in the system is very nice. And it also could be a very good vehicle for bringing gamification projects and ideas into organizations. And storytelling is very powerful in management, because all the big companies have their own stories of their history. They can be used in it for boosting the employee engagement, like for example, just simply being proud to be part of the organization. So this is like two basic elements I think that you can start with.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have feedback, we have narrative, storytelling. Pete, anything else you can think of?
I'm a big fan of using the social element of games and how games put people together to really build teams, buddy ups, getting people mentoring each other, and in the gamification, giving both people, mentor and mentee, more points for, more reward for doing that. Whenever we've used teams and putting people together in these social situations, it spreads knowledge faster, which is often one of the business objectives, but also people are more engaged and more into the work. So that's probably the first thing I look to do in any HR-related gamification thing.
Thank you very much. And okay, so we have two people coming from the side of HR. We have heard a lot of things, social, feedback, everything. How do you see these? How can you apply these at DHL? Do you apply them? Do you have any other ideas that you might think are applicable or useful? Magdalena?
At first, we use the games for increasing learning agility as well, which was not mentioned either by Pete or Marcin. Because in normal training environment, increasing the agility is quite difficult. And the game proposed by Marcin help our people to take feedback from one session, implement the changes, see how the ability to change behavior increase from session to session. That is for me most important. The second is of course the feedback. I agree with all of you that feedback is key in the business. So we use that in our games as well, especially the fact that you have immediate feedback on your decision and you see what happens if you do not take a decision or you change the decision from game to game, and you see how that influence your results. In a real business life, you need much more time than in games. So for us, those two are the key elements in gamification.
Thank you, Magdalena. Robert? How about you guys at PwC?
I would mention a very specific example, which is combining feedback, social interaction, and knowledge transfer. And that happened for our company. And I think when we talk about gamification and gamification solutions, we have to focus on these, let's say, large events as well. Because I think nowadays, when we mention gamification, we try to focus, or we tend to focus on online solutions mainly. But let me just share one example. We had a so-called Knowledge Day, and we gathered all our employees in Hungary, 600 people, and we have 3 service lines. We are active in accounting, in tax, and advisory services. And we wanted to engage people more interacting with each other, the service lines. And I think it can happen with any company. And we have organized a big case study game and grouped the people into groups of 10 and 15 people, and they had to solve a case study, and all 3 business line information, so business units information, were required for that. So it was a pretty active 90-minute session when people were running around in a big room. Imagine 600 people. They had to go to each other asking some things, and finally they had to fill out a quiz based on the, let's say, outcomes and answers from the case study. And it was an enormous effective way of transferring the knowledge and getting to know each other and others' areas. And it was nothing else, just a well-organized big game, a case study game. So I think I would like to refer back to social engagement and feedback. I think it's key. So people interaction is, I think, the biggest fuel in these kind of things. And you can make people talk to each other, and you can make people play with each other, and then I think immediately you just realize that the information is going through from one mind to another without even noticing it. I think that's the good point about it.
Thank you. That was a really interesting example. Thank you very much. I'm going to actually leave the word with you, Robert, because you're a director. You make decisions. You have to make decisions, I guess, all the time. we have all these game elements that we have gathered, game mechanisms, there's gamification experts that can give us advice. What else should decision makers consider before they start a gamification project or before they start implementing gamification in their business processes? Can you maybe share your thoughts on that?
I always tell to my colleagues, I always tell to myself, and I always tell to my clients that please not to try to solve everything with gamification, because we have a saying in Hungarian, probably it's in English as well, that don't fall on the other side of the horse. So if something is very interesting, something is very, let's say, fashionable or fancy, that people easily fall in love with that. And I see many HR people saying, wow, gamification is fantastic, let's use for this, for this, for this. If you use it for everything, then this will be boring as well. So I think what you have to think about first and make decision about is that what is a critical issue, what is a critical information, what is a critical milestone in the life of your company, and then if there is a solution that can be connected to gamification, then please try to choose something, bearing in mind what the objective is. So my first decision point is that please try to be focused in what to use it for. And second is that always be aware of the objective. And I think if these 2 points are there, I think you can be successful.
Thank you very much. It actually sounds a little bit like an analogy to applications on our smartphones, which do one or two things and they do it really well, and that's why they're really successful, immensely successful, because they have a focus. Magdalena, do you agree, also as a decision maker, with Robert?
Yeah, I agree with Robert. Moreover, I would like to add that at the moment we started our gamification journey, we ask ourselves who will be our target group. Because we are quite a diverse company with different kind of jobs, and we had to decide to take decision to who we will offer the process. And another thing was, which we consider, was who will be responsible for keeping that alive, because the gamification itself needs an extra effort from HR department and from manager as well. It's not only one event when where we use the games, but it's the process, and that takes a lot of time. Putting the content into a gamification platform, thinking about the development activities is a work which has to be done and have to be done on a regular basis. So it is important question, who will be responsible for the process?
Thank you very much. What about our gamification and game experts? Martin, what do you think? What would you maybe add or suggest to decision makers also to consider?
Yes, well, I agree with my previous colleagues that focus is the key. I also can say that I also had the same example that a very big company, they wanted to start on the beginning a small gamification project, and then they started to add things because the new organizational parts were thinking, oh, gamification, we want that too, and we want that too, and the sales and the customer department, and then the financial services, and in the end they came up with a huge project that had zero chances to succeed because the organizational change was there. What I would be suggesting is that first of all, not losing the focus on the business objectives, of course, as well. But on the other hand, what I would like to say is thinking about the organizational context. This project, this gamification, should fit into organizational culture. And the question to be asked is where we can actually enhance and use this organizational context in order to really engage people. Because if you will start such a project and you will fail, then unfortunately it will be very difficult to bring it up again.
Thank you very much for sharing. Pete, do you agree? Would you add anything to that?
I agree that the most important thing is to always keep in mind the main business objective of the gamification strategy or project, whatever it might be, because people get carried away with the excitement and want to add and go off tangent and end up with a game that doesn't do anything useful potentially. The second thing for me is that really right from the start you have to get buy-in from senior level execs and management to the level that they should be committing to playing the games and being involved in the gamification visibly to empower the other employees, the people who you're really aiming at, to actually join in and feel like it's not going to harm their careers and things. Because often, particularly in the UK, if it's seen as fun, it's seen as not really necessarily that useful for the business. So that's one of the things we have to fight across there. And I guess the third thing is quite often I do get people to start with a very small project so we can easily get ROI figures back and then much better commitment from those senior level execs to the next bigger stage of what they really wanted to achieve.
Thank you. Actually, you bring up a topic that leads me to my next question. You mentioned ROI, return on investment. What are the expected results of applying gamification in an organization? What should decision makers expect? What can employees expect as an outcome? Robert, would you like to start maybe to share your thoughts on that?
Well, it goes back to motivation and engagement. Because my personal opinion, and I usually use it again with clients, is that gamification is a great tool for increasing engagement. Engagement for understanding something, engagement for learning something, engagement for doing something. So I think if you would like to move your organization into a specific action, that could be an outcome. If you move to an organization to understand your new strategy, just to understand it, that could be an outcome. If you would like to move your organization to learn something, new skill, that could be an outcome. As I mentioned in the first part of the discussion, the noise is pretty big in every organization. You get an average of 200 or 300 emails a day. You get a lot of company messages. Sometimes you delete them without even opening it because the noise is too big. So if you would like to have your messages get across, I think that could be the outcome. And I think these days, when the noise is so big, when you have lots of information, it's critical if you want something to get through, then you use the best channel. So I think engagement, understanding, learning, and action, that could be the outcome.
Thank you very much. Magdalena, your company is known for winning a lot of awards, HR awards, recognitions for implementing interesting things and being best workplace practices and so on. Are these some of the also expected results of gamification application at the organization, or what sort of examples would you give? What would you expect?
In the project where we applied the games, we expect in a first stage increase of engagement, of course, like Robert mentioned. But the main idea and main rationale behind the program was to help people be ready for the new normals, the new world, which is unpredictable, and the changes happen almost every day. We are a special company because we deliver a service 24 hours a day. Our parcels are flying around the globe. Everything can happen. What can stop the parcel to be delivered, and we have to find the way to satisfy our customers. So our rationale behind the program was to prepare people to act in every situation with full engagement, full motivation, but with full understanding of importance of customer as well. And of course, last but not least, we expect that after the program, our business result will improve because we concentrate our development effort around understanding the connection between different parts of business and understanding the dilemma of leaders. We hope that after the program, people will be able to implement changes very smoothly, but to act as ambassadors of company as well.
Thank you very much. Pete, what can you promise to your clients, or what do you usually promise to your clients?
Well, it really depends where, as Robert was saying, what the focus of that particular gamification objective is. In general, I guess you could say whatever the process is that's been gamified, you get increased engagement, which generally is leading to either an increase in productivity or an increase in creativity if you've been going for innovation and ideation. I think when applied to software, internal use software, which I see a lot, it often leads to better quality data, which leads to better quality decision making within the organization too. And I think that's probably one of the outcomes that I get asked to help implement quite a lot. So you're actually fine-tuning the business through gamifying people's involvement with it.
Thank you very much. Martin, what would you add to Pete's thoughts?
Gamification projects mostly are sponsored from the certain area. And the certain areas have there, of course, some key performance indicators. They are, let's say, particularly important for them. If Maya was talking about the project actually of gamifying the learning element. So what we wanted to reach is the maximum impact of the learning effectiveness and to really change people's behavior in the direction we wanted them to change, to be more agile, to be aware, to be more effective in what they do. If their gamification project comes from sales, I see a lot of implementation in the CRM area. And of course, what they want, would like to the CEO see is just impact on sales. More sales, more calls, more longer talks, better sales people. What I would like to say that all of the KPIs can be divided into groups. One that are more very tangible, which are devoted in money on towards some money related correlation like ROI or the ROI element. And there are also those intangible ones because it's very difficult to measure engagement. We can see the changes in the people's behavior, but they don't necessarily have to be, they can feel happier at work. They can change the behavior and still not necessarily have to implement the sales figures, for example, the result. So building gamification projects should have both of those elements. They should have tangible elements and those intangible elements, which also, for example, we mentioned fun. Is happiness at work important? Probably yes.
I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, so we have been talking a lot in general about these topics. Let's go to some concrete examples. Robert has given us a really interesting offline example for gamification at his company. Can you think of any best practice examples, either online or offline, that you could maybe share with our audience? Magdalena, I'm going to hand the word over to you to start.
We use so far two games. One is using computer, another is a board game. It's System Change and Top Sim. One concentrated on change management, another is business simulation. Both have landed perfectly in our company. They were built in a long development program for middle management level. And to be honest, what for me is most important is the fact that everybody who was involved in the process, starting from board members to terminal manager. We're very excited around the program because it brings them to another stage of development. We never used the games before, and the new tools or new approach were very much welcome by people. And what they told me that what was most important for them, for some of them, of course, that's the fact that in some games they lose for first time in their life. So the extra added value for company is that people can see how it is to take wrong decision and what result it can brings. In our case, we decided not to use a gamification platform. We decided just use 2 separate games because it is more focused on our needs.
Thank you very much. Martin, what about you?
I just want to add what Maya said, that about the games for years, actually we use them to bring people together and cooperate. This is all built around one bigger idea. So we just want to have a sustainable development program over time. So and the whole logic is built around feedback, cooperation, the social aspect of sitting together, solving problems, discussing on the common ground. So so this is the basically most important effect we want also to reach in the physical world. And the other example I would like to use is that a gamification project, I know the very simple example should have the wow effect. One of my students and colleagues right now, he's introducing a gamification project in his company. And one of the decisions, one of the elements he built in is this was that good players have a concierge service. So somebody brings just some cookies and coffee to their desk. What they didn't know when they chose it was someone who was actually bringing the coffee table was the CEO himself, which was like 20 levels higher than they were, because there were simple people working on the phone or in the financial services. And this was a huge wow effect, which actually also changed the atmosphere in the very noisy, as Robert mentioned, environment. So important is that this wow effect and sustainability around the gamification. And this is like examples of using different aspects, bringing people together, exactly like in the Robert Cage game, talking to each other, sharing the experiences, getting to know each other. Because if we get 200, 300 winners per day, we don't talk to each other anymore. And this is the problem.
Thank you, Martin. Peter, I'm going to hand over the word to you. I'm sure you have thoughts to add as well.
Well, first of all, I really like Martin's example there. It's always good to see the CEO really joining in, as I was talking about earlier. I think the first example I've got is a few examples of implementing a gamified CRM system, which I think someone else mentioned. One of the ones we helped with was their previous system. All the staff needed 2 to 3 days of training before they felt vaguely comfortable with it. And then with the gamified system, which had quite a few aspects which encouraged onboarding and exploring the different features, they tried something new, which they just gave the staff a login to it and let them get on with it. And within 2 hours of the gamified system, they were as comfortable with it and using as many features as after 2 days where they'd actually been trained. So the sort of speed of productivity of new users to the system was amazing. The second thing we noticed with those gamified CRMs was that it was encouraging better quality data. So the people were that much more engaged, they were putting more data in. And one organization had discovered when they were putting the sales data in, so they had quite a lot of inquiries not followed up, ever. In fact, 20% of their turnover was there visible in the gamified system as sales that had basically been verbally agreed and just needed one more little push. So after they implemented the system and found that data, they were very busy for a few weeks, but very happy. The other example I've seen in terms of motivating people is in tailoring the rewards a bit more. So there's a networking group we worked with, and they wanted to encourage the behaviours that they were supposed to be there for in the first place. And what we were doing was, and they had no budget, so what we were doing was working out exactly what the rewards should be. In this case, it was a business networking group. So the rewards really for people should have been more and higher visibility. So for people who put in more effort, brought visitors, brought the right sort of guests along, they would get extra profile in front of everybody. And it was incredibly motivating for them and worked really well for the long term as well. And yet it was what they're supposed to be doing anyway. But I just I really like that. Playing with the rewards sometimes is all you need.
Right. Thank you very much, Pete. That was really interesting. Robert, maybe you can also share another example that you might have come across or have been using.
Yeah, another example is a combination of going online and interaction and working offline as well. We have introduced a competition of creating a video of small working teams about introducing why they like to work in their groups and why they are proud of working in their groups. And they had to create a short video sketch, including everybody. And then they had to upload into our internal system, and there was a kind of a competition amongst the videos. I think it was a great game for engagement, even for own work, and even engagement about why you like your work and why you like your team. And also it was big fun for creating these videos. So I think it's again a different example. It's about games, it's about commitment, it's about engagement, and it works.
Thank you very much. Wow, we've heard a lot of great things, a lot of great examples today. I hope our viewers learned as much as I did. We're trying to keep these conversations a bit compact, so I'm going to wrap it up this time, and I'm sure there will be a lot more to talk about, so we're going to use the opportunity next month to continue with our Gamification Roundtable. Let me just share with you that before saying goodbye, that our next session is going to be in a month. But until then, in the meantime, you can meet Games for Business in March. On March 13th, there will be in Antwerp, in Belgium, an e-recruitment congress where I will actually myself be leading a session, discussion session, and there will be also a Games for Business stand at the event. So hopefully, I can meet some of our viewers there. As mentioned, after this, in April, there's going to be the Gamification in HR Summit, where 3 of our guests will also be present, so hopefully we'll see each other very soon again. We appreciate any feedback and any comments on our hashtag wall. You can still use hashtag Gamification Roundtable to share any comments that you might have regarding our event or discuss topics. I thank to all of our participants for their inputs. It was great having you here. And Games for Business. See you next month. Goodbye.
Thank you.